Welcome to episode 658 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. Like I talk. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live recording streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting my shows up there. As always, if you'd like to support the show, you can do that in several different ways. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can find books I've written, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, over on Amazon, including my most recent book, first one connected to the podcast, that is called Salsido Paranormal Experiences. Or you can just sign up to the Patreon page and get one extra True Paranormal Stories from the Web episode every week, whenever possible. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. I think that takes care of everything, and we can get to the stories now. So yeah, let me see here. Get to the document, and we'll go from there. Haven't actually looked at these in over a week, almost 2 weeks. I think at least a week. So I might be as surprised as some of you are when I read these, because I don't really remember them now very well. But anyway, this first one says, my family and I live in the Philippines, and we have a history of paranormal experiences involving both ghosts and creatures from local folklore. Certain family members, such as my sister, have a third eye, in quotation marks there, allowing them to see ghosts. Even without this ability, the family often encounters supernatural entities, particularly in my grandparents' house. One story involves my cousin, Elle, who was at my grandparents' house talking to Aunt J for about 10-20 minutes. Aunt J was unresponsive, which puzzled Elle. Later, Elle found Aunt J in the kitchen and realized that the person she had been talking to wasn't her real aunt. After hearing someone mimic Aunt J's voice calling out for Elle, the two became alarmed and went outside. According to local folklore, meeting one's doppelganger is a bad omen and can result in death. While outside, Elle saw a figure resembling Aunt J in a bedroom window, fixing curtains. Despite the figure's normal behavior, they recognized it as a doppelganger. The same Aunt J in her childhood had an encounter with a paranormal figure. She saw a man with coal black skin and blood red eyes staring at her through a window. Her sisters woke up and also saw the figure. However, when the adults checked outside, they realized no one could have been that tall, as the window was 2 meters off the ground. The window was near a balete tree. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Balete, which, according to local stories, is home to spirits, particularly the capre, an extremely tall creature with coal black skin, red eyes, and a giant cigar, known for taking children. So that's where that one ends. That is amazing and terrifying. I'm glad nothing else happened with the at the time with that figure that they saw. I wonder. Of course, this is just me thinking about this. I wonder at the time, were they aware of this legend? Not saying that they made it up, because I always fight hard against that, because I don't think that people are just making things up all the time or just imagining things all the time. Excuse me. But I wonder if whatever was there, they saw it in a certain way because of information they had. But if they were that young, I would think, unless they overheard the adults talking about it before somehow, I would think they wouldn't know about that. So, but either way, that has to be disconcerting when you see something that is known to be in the area, supposedly. That's really amazing. I wonder, with all these stories about these beings that supposedly take people away, kids or whatever, I wonder how much of that does happen, and then how much of that is meant to sort of frighten people to keep them away from these figures. And of course, I have no idea, no way to know that. But yeah, it sounds like that family is sensitive to a degree, and/or they just live in a really active area, which I guess is possible, or both. I think all that can play. And so yeah, that's quite a lot of activity in that one area. And it sounds like it's a general area too. It's not just one house, which is amazing. So, but at least I think so anyway. But yeah, so that was an amazing one there. I remember now reading that one, being amazed that so much happened there. So, but looking at chat here, most is parents go to bed, or yeah, whatever it is, we'll get you. Yep, yeah, I can imagine that too. But then, of course, the amazing thing with that is, how often is that based on something that really happened, even if it was just once? There's this knowledge of these other beings that are there, maybe not all the time, but once in a while. And so there's a bit of actual information in these kinds of things that parents tell their kids sometimes to get them to behave. And there's also there's that aspect as well, but there's sort of both going on there. So moving on to the next one here. This one says, my boyfriend shared a strange and unsettling experience that happened early in the morning. He got up to use the bathroom, and when he came out, he saw what appeared to be me sitting on the couch in an odd and uncomfortable position. The figure was wearing a familiar outfit, blue jeans and a green tank top, which is a common outfit for me. My boyfriend thought it was strange that I was fully dressed and sitting on the couch at 5 a.m., but assumed I couldn't sleep and got ready early. Still tired, he went back to our shared bedroom and found the real me still asleep in bed. Confused, he stepped out of the room again and saw the figure resembling me still sitting on the couch, while I remained asleep in bed. Alarmed, he immediately woke me up to tell me what he had seen. But when we went to check the living room, this figure was gone without a trace. I'm not sure of what the figure was. I wonder if it might have been a mimic or something else. And that's where that one ends. Again, you have these figures that look like the people. Now, I wonder in some cases, though, I think I've talked about this in previous shows, especially where this image of a person vanishes after the real person wakes up. Could that indicate sort of astral projection, out of body experience, and the boyfriend was really seeing their partner there, just somehow thinking of things while they were asleep and imagining themselves being on the couch somehow, or maybe even it doesn't say that, but I wonder if they had a dream about sitting on the couch. I'd be curious to know that. Of course, you can't with these online posts, but I wonder that with especially in situations like this where the figure is seen while the person is asleep, and then once the person wakes up, the figure is gone. So I have no idea, but that always makes me wonder about that, because there are plenty of reports of people seeing other people that look like ghosts, but then they're still alive, and it turns out it's most likely a some kind of out-of-body experience. So that was a neat one there. I wonder if hopefully that was the case. That's what I always sort of hope with these things, that it's not any other beings there. But then again, even when it is, especially when they don't do a lot, then you have to just wonder, is that, why are they there? So a lot of questions, no answers as usual. But moving on to the next one here. And let me see here. Okay. This one says, this happened many years ago when I was in my late teens. While drawing in my bedroom, I saw a clear figure of a young girl wearing a colorful shirt and shorts, running towards my parents' bedroom. When I went to investigate, the figure had disappeared. I talked to my mother about the incident, and she said she was concerned, having also seen brief ghostly appearances at home over the years, though never anything severe. I think this sensitivity to the paranormal comes from my mother's side of the family. My grandmother appeared to have psychic abilities, having communicated with my aunt in dreams before passing away. On the day my grandmother passed, I became seriously ill. My mother also seems to have a heightened sensitivity, often sensing when something is wrong. I am now curious about how to channel these psychic or paranormal abilities. And that's where that one ends. Yet again, you have this family connection, possibly. And I think it's there. I think there are enough reports of that. Again, just even based on what I've found in researching all this and shows I've heard over the years. And I think that can be a situation. What's amazing to me is when that happens, and it takes years for people to figure it out because of the taboo or whatever, the stigma against all this, people talking about all this. And even though that's sad in its own way, it's terrible. It's always amazing when people can sort of talk about similar experiences they had, and it's years after, so you're pretty sure that they weren't uh, unconsciously influencing each other in any way. And so that's always amazing to me when you get those kinds of reports. So, but yeah, I think there's a family connection. I think it seems like in some cases I've heard it can skip generations or be more prominent. Again, like in one of these stories tonight already, with certain siblings over other siblings, where they all seem to have some general sensitivity to anomalous things, but then some seem to be more sensitive to those than others. And I think that's I don't know, based on my own experience, I think that's definitely a possibility as well. So let's move on to the next one here. And let me see here. Okay. This one says, oops, okay, there we go. This one says, I live in Australia where wall power outlets have switches that must be flipped for electronics to work. They have those here in the US too, for anyone that is curious. I have one of those in my apartment. After arriving home from work later than usual, I cooked dinner and then tried to use my computer, which wouldn't turn on. I checked and found that the wall power outlet switch had been turned off, which was strange because I had used the computer the night before with no issues and had never turned the switch off. These switches are sturdy and snap firmly into position, requiring intentional effort to flip them. And yeah, the one here in my place is similar as well. The outlet switch, which had been on continuously since I moved into the house 9 months ago, and no one else in the house had touched it. When asked, my family member, the only other person living with me, confirmed they hadn't been in my room and mentioned hearing a one-time click coming from my room. I am sure the switch was on, and there's no apparent reason why it would turn off by itself. I do remember having odd sensations in my parents' house, such as feeling like I wasn't alone or seeing things in the corner of my eyes, but never experienced direct paranormal activity. Here is some more information about the wall switch. The plug connected to the power outlet is small and doesn't interact with the switch, and the home is newly built, 3 years old, in a developing area. While I do believe in the paranormal, I have never personally experienced any significant ghostly or paranormal activity before. So that's where that one ends. It does sound like someone may have turned off that switch. I don't know how, but these things do happen. A lot of times you'll hear about lights turning on and off, and without the switches moving on things. But then once in a while, some accounts you'll find people say that they did hear the physical switch turn off or turn on. In rare cases. So I don't know how that works, but that's a neat one there. It seems like they tried to figure everything out and they couldn't. And seems like they may have had previous experiences. So I wonder if it's something again to do with the family If it's a different location, I don't know. But yeah, those switches. Like I said, I have one in my apartment, and it's not the same as the other switches to lights in my apartment. So it's not super difficult to turn it on or off, but it's not the same. And so yeah, that's a neat one there. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, and everything stayed quiet in that place for the person that wrote that after that. I think we have time for at least one more here before we stop for the night. Well, for this episode anyway. As I'm recording, I have a few more to record tonight here. But moving on to this next account. This says, I am currently in college. 2 of my friends and I visited a cemetery near the campus at night to explore and find the oldest graves. The cemetery is large and extends far from the main road, with minimal light sources other than our phone flashlights, moonlight, and solar lights on some graves. I walked across one of the cemetery paths away from my friends when I heard a rustling noise to my right. I saw a small, white, sleek figure curled near a tree. At first I thought it was a rabbit. However, I soon realized it lacked fur, a tail, or visible ears. The figure moved, arching its back like a cat, and its legs resembled human forearms, thin and elongated with no visible joints, like elbows. I could not see its head clearly, but the figure was pale and still. As I realized this wasn't anything normal, as far as I could tell, I experienced an intense wave of heat, a physical reaction that made me feel hot inside. Instinctively, I turned and ran back to my friends, explaining that I saw something strange. One of my friends went to investigate, followed by the other, while I stayed back. The friend who initially went didn't see anything, but the other friend saw a white, furless figure hiding its head behind the tree, similar to what I had seen. This second friend had the opposite reaction. She felt an intense cold and chills. The friend who didn't see the creature was unfazed, but my other friend and I were unsettled excuse me, by what we saw and the intense physical reactions we had. I can't stop thinking about the encounter, and I want answers, whether paranormal or not, as to what I saw. The experience left a lasting impression on me. That's where that one ends. The heat and the cold aspects of that, not even counting whatever it is that they saw. I wonder, did it generate those? Or was that just reactions? I have no idea. But that's an amazing one there. But that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening. And I'll talk to you all next time. And take care.